Hand over this stage to our panelist, esteemed managed engineer Rajiv Ahuja, sir.
Mr. Rajiv Ahuja, the people who are working in bridges works, infrastructure works, needs no introduction. He is a postgraduate in structural engineer, M.Tech in soil mechanics and foundation engineering. He is well-known bridge engineer in India. He has about 40 years experience in planning, designing of bridges and highways, and he is member of many committees. One thing which I want to mention specifically for the young budding engineers, he is very cooperative and helpful to the young people. He is accessible to them. He listens them very patiently and give them the, जिसको हम बोलते हैं बड़ा सटीक जवाब देते हैं और बड़ी अच्छी तरह से समझाते हैं. ये इनकी खासियत है. Generally people who have knowledge, they are not willing to share it. So now it is over to Mr. Rajiv Ahuja.
Good morning to all, and thank you, Mr. Ghai, for kind words. We had excellent presentations from Dr. Singla, and also the address by Engineer Mohammad Ishfaq was also excellent. In fact, I am pleasantly surprised that such officers exist in our country, and I wish we had such officers all over India. So whatever problem we are facing, we will not face, and infrastructure sector will get a big boost. Now they have shared their good experiences, and Brigadier Grewal shared how a constructive, positive and practical approach can solve the problems. I'm a design man basically, so number one, I will limit myself to design aspects. I have been working mostly with the EPC contractors, where design, that is engineering, is done by EPC contractor. And we have many bad experiences. I would like to share bad experiences. Of course, good experiences have been already shared. I will start with the EPC contract document, where the scope is defined in Schedule B and C. In Schedule B and C, you list out the length of the project, width of the project, number of structure, their specific requirements, what is to be done. And C is about project facilities, toll plaza, road furniture, etc., etc. So the scope is defined in Schedule B and C, and the design and construction has to be done as per Schedule D. Now Schedule D basically refers to our manuals, IRCSP 84, 87, these are the manuals. Now the practical problem which we have faced on, I would say, majority of the project, people do not understand the difference between Schedule B and C. When I say people, I am talking of authority as well as authority engineer or independent engineer. Most of them, not all of course, exceptions are always there, but majority of them are not able to distinguish between B and C and Schedule D. B and C gives the scope. It's very clear in the Article 2 and 4. D is not a scope. So what they interpreted, that something is not covered in Schedule B and C also has to be done if it is given in Schedule D. Now that's a wrong interpretation. I will give an example. Suppose you are constructing a very large river bridge, and in Schedule B and C, you have not talked about guide bund or production works. You have given length of the bridge, you have given broad span arrangement, all those things you have already given. When contractor starts working, then he is told that you get a physical model or mathematical model testing done by some IIT and provide adequate production work and a guide bund. This is a practical example I am telling you which we have faced. So when we tell them this is not part of the scope, you have not mentioned in B and C, but he says it's mentioned in IRC codes. You can read IRC 5, it mentions about guide bund, or IRC 89, it talks about production works. So that is understood, even if it is not mentioned in B and C, it is understood. You have to follow Schedule D, and Schedule D refers to IRC codes. Now, and see, it's not a guide bund is a very costly item. Your bridge may cost 200 crore, guide bund may cost even 40-50 crore. So how this problem starts, and I can give you many more examples where certain things are not covered in Schedule B and C, and these are insisted upon by authority engineer, citing example of Schedule D, and without change of scope. So it goes into litigation and delays the project unnecessarily. And till you don't conclude that matter, they don't allow you, they don't approve your drawings. That's another problem. So how this problem starts? The problem starts from the DPR. The DPR I'm sorry to say, and everybody knows, these are, I mean, not all DPR, but most of the DPR done very casually. NHI has got a terms of reference for making a DPR. It's an excellent document. Then we have IRCSP 19, which is a manual or special publication for survey investigation and project preparation. If a DPR consultants follow these two documents and other IRC code, I can tell you DPR will be excellent. But reality is different. DPR is done, in a very bad manner. Many items are missed out. Many mistakes are done. For example, DPR gives you plan and profile drawing. I'll give you just one example. There are so many examples. There, you have to give the length of the vertical curve. Vertical curve depends upon the side distance. And we have a stopping side distance, we have a overtaking side distance and other side distances, and desirable side distance. And there is a bare minimum side distance, stopping side distance. Now in DPR, that plan and profile drawing has not followed the code. If he follows the code, he should have given a larger vertical curve length as per the desirable stopping distance. But he gives based on safe stopping side distance. Why does he do it? And when the contractor starts constructing, then he is told, you have to design as per the code, you have to provide desirable stopping side distance. Why DPR consultant has not provided? Then they tell these DPR drawings are only for reference. There's a disclaimer in the document, and these are only for reference and guidance. What do you mean by reference and guidance? I mean, you don't do your job correctly, properly, and you expect contractors to do it. And then another problem, DPR consultant gives certain proposal. Say for example, well diameter, pier size, or pylon height, or in extra dose cable state number of stays, he shows something. And quite often, without having any experience, I have dealt with the projects where DPR consultant had never designed extra dose bridge, never designed a cable state bridge, but he has produced a DPR drawing. When contractor designs, he employs an international consultant who is a very knowledgeable person, who have done a lot of such bridges, and he gives his design. And the authority engineer will point out, in our drawing well dia is 10 meter, why are you providing 7 meter? Or in our proposal, there are so many stays, number of cables. Why have you reduced it? Or pylon height, we have shown say 150 meter, why are you providing 130 meter? Without understanding that this is a contractor's design. As per, see, it's a engineering, procurement and construction. It's a contractor design. A contractor is not supposed to follow the drawings which you have given as it is. If that is that is your outlook, if that is the way you think, then why float a tender on EPC basis? You can simply, issue the drawings to the contractor and let him make based upon these drawings. And I tell you, months and even years are lost only in arguing such things with the authority engineer. And authority does not interfere. That's another problem. I have seen in one case in Rajasthan, the work is totally stopped. That because of this attitude, we had meeting with chief engineer, secretary, and we convinced them that whatever proposal you are asking us is not feasible to design. It's an extra dose bridge. It is not feasible to design. They wanted us to make fully integral bridge. And we employed our consultant, then another consultant, and who came out with same conclusion that an expansion joint is necessary or bearing is necessary. Without that, it cannot be analyzed. An authority engineer refuses. He says, no, I only want integral bridge. I don't want any joint and I don't want any bearing. And in spite of our proving to them, by using international softwares like Sophistic or Midas, which are world-renowned software, authority engineer does not have a software. He only has a STAD software. And they are not able to analyze that problem. They are not able to check what has been presented to them, but simply keep repeating that you have to do what we want you to do, even if contract does not specify any such thing. I think 2-3 years have passed, that project is standstill. So there, authority has to, play a very constructive role, positive role. But for that, they should have a knowledge. Unfortunately, in these days, authority is depending, our employer, client, whatever you call, they are depending too much on authority engineer. Authority engineer also does not have the expertise, but the contractor's designer, he has made construction drawing, working drawings, he has up-to-date knowledge, or even international consultants are appointed. They are very good. But authority engineer does not have that kind of expertise. But he can raise the question. He can raise the, stall the approvals. And unfortunately, authority engineer does not interfere at all. This is my real experience on a few projects. They simply raise their hand, We do not know anything. So my suggestion and request will be that authorities or employer should develop their strong design group. It used to be there 30, 40 years back. We used to design, we used to go to PWD, Ministry of Transport. They will have a good design cell, they will check our design thoroughly and approve it. But here, authority engineer can give any kind of comment. Now let us go to chapter 10, article 10 of a EPC agreement. Now here, recently I have seen the contractor is giving 90 days to submit all designs. Absurd and ridiculous. Whosoever has written that line doesn't know ABC of design. See, in an EPC contract, which may be 2,000 crore, 3,000 crore, you may have a road of say 30 kilometer, you may have an extra dose bridge, you may have a flyover, viaducts, interchange. It's such a complex project. First thing is you have to do soil investigation. And you may have to do 60, 80 boreholes. In river, the borehole depth these days is 60 to 70, 80 meters. You have to appoint a geotechnical consultant, a good geotechnical consultant. Unfortunately, we have a severe skill shortage, whether it's a designer, contractor, government departments, we have a serious skill shortage when it comes to technical matters. So you have to appoint a geotechnical consultant. It takes time, you have to invite offers, you have to negotiate with them, appoint them, then they need their mobilization time. So by the time he starts the investigation, 1 or 1.5 months will pass. In river, he may have to deploy barges. The soil investigation may take 3 to 4 months. What about survey? You have to do a very good survey. At construction stage, you cannot do a bad survey. You have to do a good survey. That survey also has to be cross-checked by highway engineer. That alone may take 2-3 months. So the investigation phase will be 3 to 4 months. The design cannot be submitted without this data is given to a designer. And in a complex project, there are 100 types of design: a well foundation, pile foundation, pier, shape of pier, pier cap, pre-stress, extra doors, steel bridges, all kinds of things. How do you expect a contractor to submit all the designs, which includes investigation, in 90 days? Ridiculous. In fact, in all major projects, 6 months is a minimum time for design, what we call engineering. And if it's too complex, it should be extended to 9 months. You ask any contractor, ask any designer to the contractor, it's impossible to achieve. Now, but you have fixed that time without knowing the subject. When it comes to authority engineer, he is given 15 days time to give his review or observation as per the contract. And if it's a bridge project, he is given 30 days time just to comment. So you expect contractor to finish investigation and design in 90 days, and you give 30 days to the authority engineer, and that too not for approving. He may give some observation, return your designs to you. You go to the consultant. What EPC contractor can do, he will go to a consultant. Now consultants are also short-staffed, unfortunately. So we expect them to give design review, revised design in 7 days. He may take 1 month, 2 months. When you give it back to authority engineer, he again says, I have time, I need 10, 15 days time. Again, he will give some comments. So the comments are raised in piecemeal basis. So it is authority engineer who has lack of knowledge, who keeps giving comments on piecemeal basis. It doesn't help the project. And at the site, work cannot be executed unless approval is there. So contractor keeps sitting, his people are keep sitting. In spite of that, I will just, read out clauses for Article 10. I have noted down. Now it says, no review / approval and or observation of authority engineer shall relieve the contractor of its obligation and liability for the same in any manner. So what you are saying, even if authority engineer does not review, does not approve, does not give any observation, it will not relieve the contractor of his obligation and liability. How ridiculous is that? Why are you not fixing up responsibility on authority engineer who does not do his job? You penalize him. If there is a penalty for contractor, it will be fair enough to penalize him also. Dr. Singla and engineer Ishfaq, they all talked about fairness to the contractor, but it doesn't exist. In practice, ground realities are different. So such sentences should be removed. Authority engineer has to be made responsible for timely approval. Then another clause is, any cost or delay in construction arising from review / approval by authority engineer shall be borne by the contractor. Now he doesn't approve, he gives comments which are not right, which are wrong, and then the contractor has to bear the cost. Very, very unfair. In all such contracts, there is a provision for proof consultant. there is a provision for audit from the IIT. So once those drawings are signed, authority engineer again starts checking the design. They don't believe signed by, drawings approved by authority engineer, approved consultant or IIT. They just ignore it. Then why to have them? And if you have them, then why are you checking? You review broadly whether the scope has been followed or not. Basically the length of the project, width and all those things. Why are you getting into designs? Otherwise remove proof consultant and remove IITs, you check yourself. So very, very unfair. And because of this, the contract have suffered, contractor suffered for a year. I know the cases. In one case, the design discharge was not finalized for 6 months because the investigation has to be done by contractor. He has to do hydrographic survey, bathymetric survey for a large river bridge. He comes out with some discharge. Authority engineer jacks up by 25%, giving some reason. He says your discharge is wrong. And you keep arguing on that. For 6 months, 7 months, you keep arguing. And authority is not interfering. And see, what we are discussing here, role of government officer in troubleshooting. If authority are knowledgeable, I am talking on pan-India basis, they should create their design cell. They should not lose their touch with the design so that they cannot be exploited by authority engineer. They should not give a free hand to the authority engineer. They should know what design involves. They should know at DPR stage, because DPR is prepared badly in spite of a good TOR, good codes. They miss out many things. They don't do proper investigation. For a large and complex river bridge, why physical modeling test and hydraulic, mathematical modeling test is not done at that stage? You expect contractor to do it. I will share one more example with you. In Assam, a project was planned with a bridge number 1, then there is a embankment, and then another bridge. The total length is almost 5 kilometers in a Brahmaputra river, 5 kilometers. But authority or employer wrote a sentence that after the work is awarded, this hydraulic model testing or physical model testing will be done by some reputed institution and scope will be reviewed. What are you writing? You should have done this exercise beforehand. So what happened? The model testing was done by, say, IIT Roorkee, and they declared that scheme, which was floated at tender stage, totally unsafe. They say whatever embankment you are giving in the center, with some guide bund, intermediate guide, 2 guide bunds right in the center of the river. He says it's a faulty scheme, and they demonstrated that this will not work and this will get washed away. So the entire scope has changed. Then department or authority engineer came out with some other proposal and told them this is what you should do. As a contractor, we objected to that. We told them this is not a good proposal. Better you make a bridge for the entire 5 kilometer length. So this question of guide bund, embankment, which require a lot of costing in the beginning, then a lot of maintenance also, they did not listen to us. Because authority, again, what I am trying to insist, have no technical knowledge. They are simply following authority engineer. For them, authority is a demigod. If he says something, they just don't want to overrule him. Authority engineer is not always right. Yes, they give some good comments, we agree. So and they don't listen to the contractor. They think contractor doesn't know anything, and whatever contractor says, you suspect that. So because contractor is supposed to be cheat, fraud, I mean that's unfortunately that is the thinking which most of people have got. So they didn't listen to us. And we told them the proposal which you are giving will be costlier than a through and through bridge. If you make a through and through bridge, your life cycle cost will come down. Again, they ignored whatever we said. Anyway, whatever they wanted, contractor has no option but to accept that, and that project is implemented. Now, change of scope is almost 300 to 400 crore because they shifted the location of guide bund. A lot of there, I don't want to get into nitty gritty, but the cost increase was more than had they constructed a bridge. Obviously, it will go for arbitration, and I'm sure authority will lose it. So, authority must have a knowledge, should be able to distinguish what authority engineer is saying, wrong or right, which they can do only if they have knowledge. If they don't have knowledge, they will depend only on authority engineer. And as Dr. Singla told us, a contractor should be respected. He is a partner. Just listen to him also. Solve his problem. But in majority of the projects, it doesn't happen. Then there's another one. Yes, I have told you that many authority engineers start comparing tender drawings with the actual execution. Tender drawings are for reference. Contractor is giving his own design, doing his own investigation. In river bridges, we calculate scour depth based upon a silt factor. Okay. Now, when contractor goes to a site, he does a very good investigation, comes out with a silt factor of say 1.5. But at DPR stage, they have taken 1 or 0.9 or 0.87. This is a practical example where we were told that you take silt factor as given in DPR. Your investigation may be wrong. Okay, you have supervised the investigation. We can do the boreholes once again. Then that investigation samples they sent to one institution, and they also came out with the same result which contractor showed. They still don't believe him. No, you have to take 0.9. What is this? If you are so suspicious of the contractor, why to float EPC tender? Then at tender stage, you finalize the discharge, so we don't waste time. You even give scour level, we don't waste time. And then they are always suspicious of number of piles or pile dia or well dia. Oh, our dia was 10 meter, you are providing 6 meter. Our piles are 20, you are providing 12. How it is possible? And months are wasted. You say EPC, if you are so competent, if DPR designs are so competent, why float EPC? EPC contractor is giving a state-of-the-art technology. He employs best of the consultant who have practical experience. He is able to reduce the cost, and this benefits the government. The public money is saved. With your design, the cost will go high, but nobody cares. In one case, authority had shown some. It was again a cable-stayed bridge, and they had shown a steel decking. When contractor got the job, he proposed a concrete decking, which is entitled because he has to do the design as per Schedule D. Schedule D nowhere says you have to provide only steel deck, not concrete. They don't listen. For 1 year, there is a correspondence, and finally, out of desperation, contractor terminated the contract. Contractor terminated. He says, what I am doing? If you are not honoring EPC agreement, so I have no option. He terminated. Change of scope is another big issue. If it's a 4-lane project, contractor is told after many months when he has mobilized, he has started working, even designs are also done. In between, he will be told, no, there is a circular, you have to make 6-lane, bridge. Okay, in any road project, there are 40, 50 structures. Then they are requested, okay, you issue change of scope notice. As per Article 3 of EPC agreement, there is a procedure laid down. If authority wants some change, they have to issue a change of scope notice. After he issues a notice, contractor prepares all the details. He has to prepare a parallel drawing, parallel design to justify the cost. He is giving only 15 days. Contract says, after issue of change of scope notice, you have to submit all the details in 15 days. So he does whatever he can do, sometimes based on approximation, which are returned, of course. You give the design. But no, and that is without issuing change of scope notice. It's only verbal. Verbally, he is told that change of scope notice is not issued at all till the cost is acceptable to the authority. It goes on for 6 months, 8 months. Now, contractor has done the design. His staff is sitting idle. His machinery is sitting idle. You are not issuing a change of scope notice. And he cannot construct with 4-lane original one because RFI is not accepted. Nobody accepts his work. So where does he go? He keeps writing letter and he keeps receiving letter, but nobody issues him change of scope notice. It's a laid down procedure in Article 13. You issue first change of scope notice. Okay, when he gives the costing, his question, the costing should be based on schedule of rates, though it's not mandatory. I don't want to get into detail, but if you read the agreement, it's not mandatory. I mean, a contractor has a liberty to refuse that. See, in a typical, very difficult project, bridge project, extra doors, cable stayed bridge, schedule of rates are not going to work. What is the cost of cable? What is the cost of construction? It doesn't cover. Or you float a separate tender. If you think it is high, I tell you months and years are wasted. Again, I would say because of inaction of authority. Authority engineers, he has such a power without any responsibility. So my submission is that authority engineer's power should be curtailed. He should be held responsible for delay in his action which affect the construction, and he has to face the penalty. And his payment should not be made based upon the manpower he collects. Again, that's another shame. Every authority engineer, once he gets the job, collects people here and there. and they have no loyalty with the authority engineer. They just come for 2-3 years, pass their time, make money, and they have their own vested interests. That's the unfortunate part of this. And contractor has to stand in front of them. They have no knowledge. And a bridge construction engineer also is a design engineer who checks your design. He doesn't know ABC of design, but he's supposed to approve your design. So his power should be curtailed. I mean, and you should believe the contractor. Of course, contractors are not angels. I won't say whatever contractors do is absolutely right. No. But majority of good companies do a right job. They have no, interest. In fact, what they want, fast construction. If the project is completed very fast, they are happy. And they will spend money from their own pocket also if decisions are taken fast, as Dr. Singla demonstrated. So I feel authority also needs some kind of what we call sensitize them. They should be educated on the EPC contract, what schedule B and C means, what schedule D means, how change of scope should be dealt with, and you have to be fair with the contractor. If you expect him to absorb 25-30% of the cost without giving him change of scope, how work will proceed, you tell me? It cannot happen, And if you don't trust a contractor on geotechnical investigation, I have faced situation where they say you have cooked up the results. Your silt factor is high, or you are showing sandy strata, it's a clay strata. In one case, the RE wall was constructed, and then somebody, bridge engineer, wrote a letter that bearing capacity which you are showing is, not achievable, without knowing the subject, because RE walls are designed based on limit state method, and the bearing capacity is the ultimate bearing capacity. And that fellow doesn't know ABC of RE wall. He says, and I had to spend maybe half a day, even more than half a day, in educating those people that what you are talking is different. And RE wall are designed like this. They don't trust. They say, no, you are showing sandy strata. In this area, there is a clay strata. Hundreds of boreholes were done 1 year back. If you are suspecting this borehole, you may suspect all the boreholes. Okay, he insisted. The boring was done again. It was sand, of course. But 2-3 months were wasted. They stopped the work. Why he should be given such a authority? He can stop the work anytime. Doesn't give you approval. And all the bad consequences are faced by the contractor. And that's why there are so many litigation and arbitration. You have to be fair with the contractor. EPC contract has to be modified. And the whole concept of appointing authority engineer, whether it's workable or not, has to be thought of and debated. I think I have covered most of the points which I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Ahuja.
And
You have raised many vital issues which most of the contractors are facing. I think a long discussion, especially where the authorities, those who are to take the decisions, are available. These needs to be discussed on that forum.